Welcome back to News 12 Long Island. You're watching a debate for the special election in Nassau's first legislative seat vacated by lawmaker Patrick Williams. Our candidates, Republican Ricky LaRosa and Democrat Kevon Abrahams. Again, gentlemen, thanks for being here tonight. We left going into the break talking about taxes, and you had mentioned, Kevon, $428 million deficit projected by 2005. But the fact of the matter is we now have an $80 million additional problem created by problems with the economy, with the stock market. Where do you cut now that hasn't already been cut? How do you deal with this additional $80 million problem that only increases over the years? I mean, we talk about pension fund costs that are $38 million in the hole this year. It's not just this year $38 million, it's $38 this year, next year, the following year. This problem just grows. How do you deal with that? Where do you cut that hasn't already been cut?
It's very tough. I mean, right now, the financial plan has outlined, a roadmap to fiscal recovery. However, like you said, Scott, this $80 million problem just came over the last few weeks, which is going to make it very difficult to cut. My hope is that that there's a workforce reduction, basically, that's put into where we want to be able to reduce the workforce by 1,200 positions by 2003, September of 2003. My hope is that maybe we get a little bit more positions reduced out of that initiative. The second thing is there's a big initiative also in the financial plan which outlines a $65 million savings in union concessions. Basically, a lot of these contracts, as they expire towards the end of this year, it would be hopeful that the county will be able, or the county executive, Tom Swazi, will be able to work out a lot of union concessions in these contracts. But the situation, as you're stating, is very grim. I mean, basically, to add on another $80 million on top of the 428 by 2004, we're in really, really fiscal dire straits in Nassau County, and it's very important that the listeners and the viewers out there get a full comprehensive knowledge of what we're facing. And basically, no one likes to raise taxes, as we said before, but I think right now we have to come to the table being able to be open to all solutions and all viable solutions that will basically correct the problem, because people, from my knowledge of talking to people on the streets, wants the problem corrected.
Mr. LaRosa, you don't want the 19, you and your fellow Republicans don't want the 19.4%, but we've got this additional financial problem, fiscal problem. Where do you go? What do you do without cutting into the bone, without curtailing crucial services that your community needs?
Mr. Swazi came into a very big victory last November, and his promise to the taxpayers and the residents was that he was going to give us $100 million in savings before he would even propose any tax increase. And something happened between Election Day and April 1st when he announced his 19.4. Okay, he lied basically to the people. He reneged on his promises, and he's not negotiating in good faith with the unions. Okay, and his direct quote is, to the extent that he doesn't get the concessions that he's asking for, there will be layoffs. And in my books, that's not negotiating in good faith. He's basically threatening them with layoffs. I'm against layoffs, okay? The employees that retire on their own naturally, okay, maybe we'll have a higher freeze, but no layoffs in my books. And of course, I want to give the support to police that Mr. Swazi is not. In fact, the police recently took Mr. Swazi to court because they left the negotiating table. I will negotiate faithfully and in good faith with the unions and the police.
Excuse me. Do you see us heading to a control board? And if so, as an incoming legislator, how do you avoid a control board, Mr. LaRosa? In 30 seconds.
Yes, we want to avoid a control board, okay? Because I believe we have politicians and legislators capable on both sides of the aisle that can handle our own problems. We don't need the big shots in Albany coming in and telling us. But unfortunately, they are not negotiating in good faith, and that's what it's heading to, unfortunately, and that's unavoidable.
Mr. Abrahams?
I think we could definitely avoid a control board. The county executive, with the Democratic support, which I want to comment that the Republican minority voted against everything that we proposed in the last 2.5 years in terms of correcting the fiscal mess in Nassau County, has basically put together a fiscal agenda of recovery for Nassau County, which will basically outline how to limit or structure initiatives which would address the $428 million budget gap by 2004. The $80 million gap is something that between now and I believe September 15th, when the budget is submitted, it will give the administration as well as the budget office the opportunity to actually sit down and see how that would be addressed. But we already have a plan which was passed in April of this year, and at the same time has the support of the 9 members on the legislative body that will basically correct the $428 million problem by 2004. There is hope for Nassau County based on this plan.
Let's talk, gentlemen, specifically about your district. How do you balance services that are desperately needed for your district against the fiscal problems that are facing the county? Mr. LaRosa, minute 30.
As I mentioned before, with the existing budget that we have, we can creatively reallocate budget lines line by line. For example, in our district, the police unit that was patrolling the gang problems, that has been taken out completely from our district, and that is appalling. Okay, Mr. Swazi wants to come in and to support the police and support better protection of the community, and what does they do? They take away the gang program of the policing. That's number one. We have the monies there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, Scott. We have the monies there, okay? And we can put that money back into our community, and it's in particular the drug programs that were cut completely by the Swazi and the Democrats. Also cut the youth board programs, were slashed to almost to zero. And this is the message that they're sending us to the community. What is the message they're giving us? You know, cut and slash programs, the drug programs, which are very needed in our district in particular. It's a Nassau County problem, but in particular in our district.
Those are some of the key issues you see in your district.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Mr. Abrahams?
Well, the major issue in our community, I believe, is economic empowerment. Right now, a lot of our areas, as you drive down any of the lifelines in terms of the roadways in our area, are basically in economic disrepair. A lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of infrastructure which has fallen down. So I believe that we have to think out of the box. I believe that we have to bring in some type of community task force of individuals who have businesses already in the community, and at the same time individuals who basically are from the community, to be able to come together and assess what exactly they believe their community needs in terms of business opportunities going forward. That, to me, once economic empowerment's in place, and one of the big issues in Roosevelt is that the fact that Roosevelt has a lack of commercial base, and that's why the schools are in such disrepair. I believe once the economic situation throughout our community, LD1 is surrounding all over the county and other areas, I believe that basically you will have a stable economic force so that everyone's issues in terms of will filter out and an economic situation will be corrected. The second most important thing, and Mr. LaRosa touched on it a little bit, is youth services. A lot of our youth are being lost to gangs and other irresponsible actions. And basically, I mean, that is one of the things that I stand for and advocate for, because I took advantage of these services when I was a child. So those are definitely things that I think need to be in place in the years to come. Next big thing is affordable housing, which I believe is something that's a lacking of, and there's not enough affordable housing, so it definitely needs to be something that needs to be addressed.
All right, gentlemen, a lot more to talk about when we come back. More of our debate with the candidates running to fill the 1st District legislative seat. The Nassau legislature now deadlocked 9-9, so next Tuesday's special election will decide whether the Democrats can keep control of the legislature after the resignation of Patrick Williams. Back in just a moment. Don't go there.
When was the last